Welcome to She's a Full-On Monet, a digital lifestyle magazine for women. Every week, our editor-in-chief, Kelly Castillo, along with Megan Block and special guests, participate in a deep dive discussion about recent articles and topics we have covered. We invite you to become part of our community where everyone's welcome. You can totally sit with us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to She's a Full-On Monet. I'm your host, Kelly, and I have with me Megan.
Hi, Kelly. Good to see you.
It feels like it's been a long time.
It really has.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got into a rhythm of every week and then life, right?
Life, yes. School starting again and lots of other projects going on. But we are happy to be back and chatting with you guys today. And chatting is the best term I could use for it today, because that's what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about the benefits of small talk. And I think we touched on this subject a little bit when we talked about weak tie friendships, but we're going to expand on it and talk about why small talk is important and what we get out of it.
Yes.
I think
Are you a small talker? Do you like to small talk with?
I actually prefer small talk over like deep conversation. Just like I prefer weak tie friendships over really deep. I mean, I see benefits of both. But I definitely feel like, for me personally, as busy as I am, sometimes it's hard for me to feel like I'm a great reciprocal friend.
Yeah.
I tend to, not always be available. And that makes me feel bad for the people who rely on me, like for emotional support, because I know I'm not always giving what they need.
Yeah.
So,
reciprocated energy is big for that best friendship. You got to it's almost like an extended family member.
It's a responsibility. And I feel like with weak tie friendships, those are easier for me to maintain. And I don't feel as strong of a sense of obligation or like disappointment in myself. So those are easier for me. And they're easier to have like a quick social interaction with, or a girls' night, or when I do have time without committing to like a regular amount of communication that I can't sustain. If that makes sense.
It's just, that's what fits in your life right now, because to be honest, with like the stronger friendships that you have time for, not unfortunately, but those are your children right now. Like those are the ones where like if you need to be there for someone 24/7 at any point in time for them on an emotional level, on all levels, like those are your young adult children right now. So
I have a partner who demands a lot of my time and energy. I have multiple businesses that I'm running. I have 4 of my own children, 3 stepkids, 3 step grandkids. Like it can be a lot. And
that's what you're walking into a friendship with.
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on there.
I don't just have baggage. I'm rolling that trolley cart behind me that they have at the hotel. It's ridiculous. And also, I tend to be kind of an avoidant attacher. If you know anything about attachment styles, I have avoidant attachment style for sure. So it's something I'm actively working on, because we've talked about this in the past. Like I see at our country club, especially these like small groups of older women who are super bonded, and they have like card night where they play cards and they get cocktails, and they have book club, and they have all these things. And it's something I aspire to, because I know as I get older, my husband is a lot older than me. So it's common sense that I'll probably be widowed earlier, because there's like a 20+ year age difference between us, and women live longer than men statistically. So I just think as I get older, like having that close group of girlfriends will be something that becomes really important to my mental health and my happiness. But right now it's hard for me to like invest in those relationships because my life is insane right now. But I'm hoping I get there. I get there. It's a goal. But let's talk about small talk, because I think this is a really timely issue as we've just come out of COVID. We have just come out of it, although it feels like a while, but
because we came out and then we went back in, and then we came out and we're still kind of in, like I hear the term come out of COVID, and I'm like, we came
out meaning we don't have to stay home, isolate.
That was a 2-year plus ordeal. It's going to take months of us saying coming out for us to really feel like we've come out, because it's not like a overnight transition. If I think I know where you're going with this, like the social interactions have become, for some people, very awkward and hard because they're just not used to being around other individuals that aren't the people they live with. So,
well, yeah. And I think small talk or like chit chat was something that we all took for granted as part of everyday life. Like you talk to the barista when you order your Starbucks, and maybe someone while you're waiting in line. You talk to your coworkers around the water cooler. I mean, the water cooler is not a thing anymore, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, or you talk to people in your yoga class, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And suddenly that just stopped, like cold turkey stopped. And I think, at least for me, I really realized how much of that interaction was kind of giving me a little emotional boost during the day and just kind of like giving me that little serotonin that I needed. And to be so isolated from it, I had never thought that I was benefiting at all from those little tiny interactions. But when I had no interactions other than my immediate family, it was a little off-putting.
You and I are very different. I actually loathe small talk, and it gives me like, I'm doing it, not just talking about it, gives me like physical anxiety just talking about it. It's something just because like I've never really been like one to make conversation with people I don't know, and it's hard for me, but I am working on doing it, like I'm working on like if somebody's bagging my groceries, have like small talk, like asking them a open-ended conversation or, just something like that. It's really, really difficult for me and my personality. And so small talk is like something on my personal thing that I'm trying to work on doing more of, because I didn't need the pandemic to make this weird for me. It's always been weird for me, And
I think for me, small talk is so much easier because I mean, I'm hyper private. I know that sounds weird because I talk about my life here on the podcast, but I am hyper private about my personal life. And so people asking me like personal questions, I find to be very jarring, invasive. And I'm very selective about what I share, even with my closest friends and my family members, like my sister or my, cousin, like, it doesn't matter. Like, unless even my children, I choose why is
that?
Them.
Because I know people that are the polar opposite, their whole life in 5 seconds. And you're like, I didn't ask for any of that information. So like, what makes you that way?
I think I've had relationships in my lifetime, whether they're romantic or friendships or family member relationships, where things that I shared that were personal were used as ammunition.
Okay.
So I'm just very, very careful about what I share and how that could come back to haunt me in the future. And it's not like they're big secrets, but I just don't like people knowing things about me that might make them look at me in a different light, or I don't know. I'm just sensitive about that. I should probably spend some time exploring that.
No, but it's good though, because some people honestly say way too much, and then because that's their personality, and then all of a sudden you're looking at their husband differently or their dad differently, and it's like, I didn't need to know that, so like I feel like some people don't know how to
and I mean my household growing up was a little bit volatile. So it was something that, was just understood that what happens in our house, we don't talk about outside of our house. And I just kind of grew up with that as my baseline. Mm-hmm. So I'm really good at small talk, and I'm really good, even though I'm an introvert, I'm really good at small talk because there's no, emotional,
personal, deep.
Yeah. I feel like you have to deeply connect. And I'm really good when people are sharing very personal things with me, or wanting to have that deeper connection. Me, I always have something super crazy that just happened to me, like some funny story that I can tell about something that is almost unbelievable. It's so crazy. And so I'm really good at like sharing those funny, crazy moment stories that feel personal, but they don't actually tell you anything super personal about me, if that makes
it makes total sense.
Okay. So I'm good at like deflecting,
because you don't want to be that person that like nobody really knows anything about, because then that relationship can only get so deep, it's like, it's only very surface level, and but I totally get that, wanting to keep it very sweet and neutral, whatever that term is, is a good thing. Talking about the weather, talking about the, whatever's going on in the world versus talking about what just happened at home is even with my weak tie friendships, like, I just feel even with my best friends. Like I can be going, maybe that's just who I am too. And I did grow up in a very volatile household too. And so there was a lot of like, whatever was going on at home, I, as a kid, didn't want my friends knowing about. So like growing, being an adult now, if I'm going through something really heavy at home, even my best friend wouldn't know it. She might be able to tell because I don't have a good poker face. Like she might be able to tell something's up with me, but I'm not the type to call her or text her and be like, this is what, not because I can't trust her with it, but simply because like, that's my life. That's my burden. That's my life. That's what's going on. I don't know if that's like not a good thing. Maybe it keeps me from bonding, but I just feel like there's certain things that even the bestest of friends don't need to be.
Oh, that's so true. And
I don't know. I know people that are like attached to the hip best friends. They know everything, like Sex in the City style. They know everything about everything going on. And it's like, that's their person. And they call them at 2 a.m. and they're there with, pizza 15 minutes later. Like that's not me. And I'm okay with it. I'd rather listen to Alanis Morissette by myself,
Yeah, I'm hypersensitive to criticism and I don't like feeling like someone else weighed in on a decision that's mine to make. So I tend to tell people, even my closest family, a big life decision after it's already been made. Ooh, so I'll be like, guess what? I'm doing this thing. and they're like, oh, well, that will be fun. And I was like, oh, no, I already did it. Like it's done. It's done now. But here's the thing that just happened. Like because I don't like people going, oh, have you thought about that? Well, what about this? How are you going to handle that? I'm like, don't get in my head. Let me do this my own way. And I'll let you know how it works out. I don't know. I need to work. As I'm telling you these things, I'm realizing I
don't think it's bad though. I don't think
lovely therapist.
I don't think it's bad. I think that you're just such a problem solver on your own that you're naturally going to go to the route of, I have this, I don't need this, that anything else just sounds like gross.
It's noise.
Like I don't
it's noise.
Yeah. Like head. I'm the same way,
I when I was pregnant with my first child, it was obviously, a surprise. I was very, very young. And I didn't tell anybody until I was 7 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
I literally could no longer hide it.
Anybody?
Nobody. Not even not my very best girlfriend, not my sister, not my dad, not my grandmother.
Did you go to the doctor? You took yourself?
Yeah.
You just.
I know it goes far. It goes deeper than that. I literally took myself to social services and signed myself up for Medi-Cal. And then I found a doctor and I went to the doctor. I'd never been before to an OBGYN in my life.
I don't feel like this was a good idea.
I did all my prenatal. I bought prenatal vitamins. I did everything myself. And then 7 months.
Did you bring it up at breakfast? They're like, oh, by the way, did they
I had my son on Halloween, right? So I told my family during our August birthdays, all of our birthdays are in August. We celebrate during August, one big celebration for all the birthdays. I told them then, I was like, oh, hey, by the way, if you can't tell by looking at me, I'm about to have a baby. And my sister was also pregnant at the time. And she was like, what the actual fuck?
How are you?
And I'm having my baby before you're having your baby. So
how are you 7 months pregnant? And this is actual news to the people that are around you all the time. Do you know what a 7 month pregnant person looks like? Were you really?
I was less than 100 pounds when I got pregnant, and I did not show until at least 5 or 6 months along. And I just wore baggy sweatshirts or things tied around my waist, and you really could not tell.
Okay, first of all.
Well, I also wasn't around my family every day.
This was not a good idea.
I was living on my own. I wasn't around my family.
Really? Okay.
Every day. Yeah. I was living in Orange County. They were not, I saw them once a week for family dinner, and I just wore a baby doll dress.
Oh, okay.
I tied a big sweatshirt around my waist, and I kept expecting if somebody had asked me, I would have said oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So what was the reason behind that? You just didn't want anyone to give their 2 cents about it?
Give their 2 cents and say, oh, you're not ready for this. Or, oh, have you thought about doing that? Or, oh, how are you going to handle? I'm working it out in my head. Let me work it out. I'll figure it out. The universe gives you 9 months to figure your shit out. There's a reason for that. By 7 months, I had it pretty well figured. But if I had told everybody right in the beginning, and then I heard everyone's opinions.
Emotional support during pregnancy, especially your first pregnancy, is kind of pivotal though. Didn't you need someone?
That was honestly my most serene pregnancy. I spent every day, I went to the movies by myself. I went for long walks. I walked to the library and got books. I had a very relaxed, serene pregnancy without any nonsense in my ear.
But I mean, you weren't like scared or like didn't need someone to talk
I
to
was
about
scared
like
about
the weird
how-
side effects of pregnancy.
Well,
you know?
keep in mind, I did not grow up with my mother.
Oh, yeah.
So I was not used to having like mom, daughter, biological talks or any kind of talks like that. I've never had that. So I was a little scared about the baby has to actually come out of me at some point. How does that going to work? But I never held a baby or diapered a baby or babysat or anything. So I was a little like, I got to figure that out. They didn't have YouTube or anything back then. But I figured it out.
Yeah.
I figured it out. And I did a lot of reading. I got a lot of books from the library about parenting and baby and what to expect when you're expecting.
Wow,
and
you really didn't want their 2 cents. Like you went the full Forrest Gump run on like marathon run on this of like
imagine if you're a teenager like I was and you tell your family that you're expecting and they tell you that you shouldn't keep it or something and then you do.
Yeah.
And
We've
then
all seen Juno, right?
For
like,
your whole life you're thinking,
oh, girl,
here's that kid that you told me.
Yeah. I get
give
that
up.
now. Oh,
right.
I totally get that now. I didn't even think about it like that, but that's true.
Because I'm petty as hell. I will not forget you said that.
Yeah. And a part of you knows that there's a potential for that to happen.
It was a reasonable amount of advice for my age and circumstances at the time. It was reasonable for them to suggest that. And my family was busy. My sister was pregnant with my niece. My dad had just remarried someone and was in a new relationship, a new marriage. So
did your dad know that your sister was pregnant?
Yes. My sister
your sister's
told everybody right away. No, she's 4 years older than me. She was in college, but she had moved into married and family housing. She was ready. Had a plan.
She was shocked too, right? How many months apart were you guys in this pregnancy?
Babies were born 14 days apart.
No way. I didn't know they were that close. I didn't know they were that.
Recognize the signs of pregnancy in her little sister.
Like that's really close.
I'm a good secret keeper.
Dang. Yeah. If there's ever a question on if you can keep a secret, you're like, let me tell you what I did round 1 of the pregnancy. I kept a secret for 7 whole months.
Yeah. That's for real.
You would have kept it forever, but eventually they would have met the kid.
Eventually I realized that I did not want to be in labor by myself or I needed some support at the end. Yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
But I don't know. That's not a small talk.
No, but
not a small talk topic.
No, but I had no idea. That's crazy. But honestly, those are little things that happen in our life that add up to why small talk for you works. Do you know what I mean?
Small talk for me works because if I'm out during the day and I have moments of interaction where I make eye contact with someone, I smile at someone, they smile back at me. We talk about something really surface level, like the weather, or when the kids were little, people would comment on my children and we'd have a little mom conversation of like, oh, how do you do her hair? Or I don't know, like, is he sitting up yet? All the questions helped me a lot find ways to have deeper conversations with people and deeper connections. Cause it made those little interactions to me make me feel connected to humankind and other people. And I find out that I have things in common with people who, by looking at, I would never assume I had anything in common with. Maybe they're wearing a t-shirt of one of my favorite TV shows or movies, or, they have a phone case that has something I love on it. And it starts a little conversation where, maybe we're completely different age ranges or, we look completely different or whatever, but we have something in common. And it makes me at least feel like I have connections and that I can make connections with people like of all different backgrounds. It helps me get to a deeper connection with other people. It starts the ball rolling, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No,
I feel connected.
I feel like it, because we're naturally selfish creatures. We always think about ourselves and like to talk about ourselves. So it helps you practice asking questions to other people, And so if you're doing small talk, when you're in those deeper conversations, you're better at those conversations on the other end where you're asking them questions and, opening up and making it more of like a even playing field rather than somebody just asking you questions all the time.
Yeah. Like I have kids who have social anxiety. Some of my kids have social anxiety, and learning to have these small talk conversations. Like I'll use my oldest son, for example. He has pretty severe social anxiety. The best job he had as a teenager and early 20s was at a grocery store because he was working the checkout counter and he had to ask everyone he checked out that day if they found what they needed, how was their day going, that kind of a thing, where before he was very, very uncomfortable with small talk or, the most basic social interaction. So having those part of his job forced small conversations with people 50 times a day really helped him. And now he's so much better at small talk and interaction.
I went to that store. He was working one day and I saw him at the checkout and I almost died from like, shock, I was like, wait, right? What? Yeah. I was like, what?
Who is this person?
And my husband is the opposite of an introvert. He will talk to everyone. He'll make people laugh. He always talks to people at checkout. And when he saw your son, he was like, oh, like what? Like, this is going to be, and he like teased him a little and had fun with him, but there was never a moment where your son was like uncomfortable. You could tell that he had gotten used to the feel of having small talk with all types of people, that even my husband isn't going to rattle him.
I think the investment, the investment of knowing that conversation will be no longer than 5 minutes.
Yes.
So even if it goes badly or somebody says something awkward, it's a short, controlled interaction, and then that person is gone and replaced by another person.
And you'll never see them again.
Yeah. You have a fresh chance to do it again.
Yeah.
And I think that made a big difference for him. And now, he works with the public. He's a tattoo artist and he takes walk-ins every day, people he's never met before. And and he has them in his chair or bed or whatever.
To have small talk. It's
4
like a
hours.
hairstylist.
Yeah. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. I never would have guessed. So I think it helped him overcome that social anxiety. And I have a daughter who has social anxiety too. And I've had to kind of coach her on the small talk because she's not really comfortable with it either. And
That's me.
I've given her little tips like, compliment them on something they're wearing and ask them where they got it. Like ask leading questions to prolong the conversation because it doesn't come naturally to her. Or, now she has dogs. So when she takes the dogs to the dog park, that kind of leads a natural conversation, kind of like mom conversation. You ask, oh, how old is your puppy? What kind of dog is that? That's beautiful.
Yes.
Like you have, when you have kids, I feel like when I had kids, first as a young mom, like I instantly felt connected to every other mother. Like every other mother had been through the same feelings I was feeling. And so it was when I was in a social situation where I felt uncomfortable, it was an easy conversation starter to ask other women about their kids. And it always started a conversation where we could find connection. So, literally, if there's a parent at the table, I can find connection.
Oh, yeah.
And I can have someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And that, those kinds of, all those conversations that we have as, I want to say parents, because it's not just moms, especially not anymore. All those conversations we have as parents where we kind of compare notes and ask about, developmental stuff and what are they eating? Oh, I see you're using that stroller. Do you like it? I was looking at one last weekend, like that. Those kind of conversations helped me at least develop active listening skills because I'm a huge reader, but reading is not interactive. No. And so it's not just me answering people's small talk questions. It's me actually having active listening skills and listening to their responses and not just waiting for my turn to speak, but actually listening and then crafting an intelligent response question. It's kind of an art.
It is. And it's a skill you can practice. I know that when I was having a tough time with this, not like listening to understand and not listening to respond. A lot of it took me having to like hear you talk and then say the things internally back in my own head. So if you're saying like, I like the rain, I would immediately say I like the rain so that it would stick in my head, because sometimes we're having conversations with people and our mind has like 50,000 tabs open. Yeah. And then the person finishes talking and you're like, oh crap, I didn't hear any of that because we were there, but we weren't there, So if that's a problem you have, a simple trick to that is just repeating in your mind back what they're saying. So that you're physically present and mentally present.
Yeah. I have a mental block. When someone first starts talking to me, I get like a rush of anxiety, just if it's a new person. And usually those first few seconds are when they're giving me their name. And so
key information.
Right. Yeah. So while you introduced yourself to me, my soul left my body for a moment and now I am back and I have no idea what your name is, even though you just said it.
So you can't ask them.
No, they literally just said it. So I feel like when I saw that movie House Bunny and she repeats their names in that growly voice, she's
Yes!
like, Anna. I'm like, I feel so seen right now. I feel so understood.
I love it because that's a trending like
Melanie.
that's a trending like TikTok right now about, and it's just that. It's about like social anxiety gets you like, it's so great because it's so true, but it feels stupid. But once you do it for a little bit, then your brain will just show back
I would
up.
encourage you to do it internally.
Not Melanie.
Maybe not Melanie. I mean, although people will know what you're doing and laugh because everybody saw that movie.
Everybody's seen House Bunny.
Sometimes I quote movies and then I realize that the person I'm quoting it to has not seen the movie, and they look at me like I'm an insane person.
We're both old enough now to say it's usually like a generational gap thing. I'll be like my
kids and I regularly quote Cat in the Hat to each other, and so if I see something like a big giant tennis racket statue, we'll go, it's oversized and that's unusual. And we'll all laugh.
About the Mike Myers movie?
Yes. And if I don't know, we all love that movie. And when I say stuff like that, people look at me like, what the hell was that?
Reasonably so.
And I realized not everyone has watched Cat in the Hat 72 times.
Oh my gosh. That's odd.
Well,
That's
the kids,
cool.
that was like one of their comfort movies that they wanted to watch over and over again. And so whenever anyone tells me that they have a babysitter,
it's a hard watch when I watch that. I've seen it like maybe twice, and I'm like, this is not it.
It's a weird movie. You have to kind of be tripping to really get it. As a mom, people use the word babysitter all the time around me, and my brain immediately wants to say, "You pay that woman to sit on babies?"
Oh Lord!
And then I'm like,
you have to retract
it. It's only funny to my children. It's not funny to other people.
Yeah, it's never good when you're having a conversation with anyone and they're just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But the wonderful thing about small talk is especially if you're at like a party or a social gathering, if you say something awkward like that and the person looks at you like you're an insane person, you can just walk away and find a new person to talk to.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be, or, if you're standing in line at the Starbucks and you say something weird and they don't get it, you can just move along about your day.
I always think if Jessica Day and New Girl could do all this, I could do it. Like, she's awkward all the time and she just moves right along with it. Yes. You know what I mean? Like we are so worried about what other people are thinking that we forget that genuine connections with all types of people throughout the day is important, that we just eliminate it altogether because the thought of it is so pressure filled of like being perfect and getting it right that we just don't do it at all. That's honestly what kept me for a while. And then I was like, now I'm coming across like a bitch because I'm literally like, somebody will like look at me and it's to the point where I won't even look in their eyes because like the whole thought of like having a conversation.
Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me.
I freak out. And then I realized like that person said hi to me and I didn't even give them the courtesy to look at them in the face. And so I'm really trying to work on it. Not because I care about if they think I'm a bitch, but I'm like, that's not who I am. And that's not the type of personality I want to put out. If I'm at a place, like I'll ask how their day is going, like if I'm waiting for coffee, like those few minutes that would make me literally itch in my own skin and want to run. I'm trying to fill those moments with conversation, or at the very least, if we don't have time for a conversation, thanking them and then using their name after. Because like I read an article not too long ago and it was like somebody had been a waitress for over 50 years. And they were like, what's one thing you wish people did more while you were a waitress? And she said, treat me like a person. There was never really a lot of genuine human interaction going on. And that's what I'm trying to tell my oldest, who has a bit of social anxiety with people she doesn't know. I'm like trying to tell her, like, when you say thank you, thank you, Elijah, instead of thank you. And like, look at them in the eyes, because even their response is a lot kinder, softer, more loving than just like,
I always take my cues from the person. So if they introduce themselves, like when the waitress comes over to the table and she says, hi, my name's Amy, I'll be your waitress today. I always say, thank you so much, Amy. But if they don't give me their name, I generally don't call. Some people, I don't know. Sometimes people feel it's too familiar.
Really? I stare at their name tag and go,
really?
Thank you, Jeffrey. Cause like, I just feel like they're there and they're at work and they're serving us, but they're not a robot. Like, it's nice when people take the time to put your name at the end of it because it personalizes the moment rather than just like do what I ask,
I totally agree. Even like if it's just someone checking me out for something very fast, like a Starbucks, they always ask you, how are you doing today? And I say, fine. How are you today?
Yes.
And you would be shocked to hear how many of them say, wow, thank you for asking.
Yes. Cause it's always fine. It's never fine.
Fine. I'll have the, and it's like,
which is okay. That's what you have to do. You can't just stare at the person and go latte. Like you have to have that beginning. How are you? Good. But you always kind of hope that the person's not an asshole and just doesn't go, good, I'll have a cinnamon dulce latte. You know what I mean? Like you'd like them to be like, good, how are you? But also some people are like, please don't say good, how are you? Because I'm also if you were to ask me that question, that's a loaded question. I'll be
like, buckle up, baby. How much time you got?
Or B, they're like, I don't want this to go on. There's a line going down the way. Like, let's not do this. So I always try and like feel out the scenario too. So it's like, if I'm holding up the line, I'm not going to be like, how are you today? Like, because it could be a person that's like, you don't even know, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm sitting there for 5 minutes and going like, sorry, but you always go in with like the kindness and the love and the humanity, humanity, such a loss where we don't have humanity in these moments anymore. And even if it's just somebody you meet in the parking lot for 5 seconds and they compliment your car, like, you shouldn't I would normally try and end the conversation as fast as possible and run,
I love when someone has, if they're working in some capacity and I interact with them as an employee of something, I love when they have something personalized. Like, I sometimes keep using Starbucks as a reference. I go there obviously way too much. They sometimes have like little stickers or pins or shirts or things that are like, I don't know, some kind of flair. Like they'll have a Disney pin or a Halloween pin or a Schitt's Creek pin or something like that. That makes me so happy because it gives me an easy like thing to comment on.
Totally.
And they're going to get it and appreciate it because they'll feel seen. And that's important for everybody. Or people, who are out in public. And I always take the time when I'm out in public, especially if I'm at a social interaction, like a social engagement, a party, and I see people kind of on the fringes, not really mingling with people. I make it a really big point to compliment them on something because I know how it feels to be anxious in social situations or to not feel like you know anybody and nobody's talking to you and it's awkward. So I do always try, especially, if it's another woman, to compliment them on something like your outfit is so cute, or I love that nail color, or just because it feels good. People really appreciate it. And it's always something genuine because I honestly can find something I like about anything. Like people who have like the purple hair, the blue hair, I have always wanted to do that, but I just don't have the guts to do it. So if I see someone out with that and, a lot of the social engagement stuff and parties that I go to are like my husband's friends, they're all older. Sometimes those people don't feel as comfortable around the, 65 to 75, 80 crowd. And I always make a point to go up to them and tell them, I love your hair color. Like I've been dying to do that, but I feel like I can't anymore. I feel like I've aged out of it. And they're always like, no, you can do it. You should do it. But I feel like sometimes the things that we're a little bit insecure about or the choices that are a little bit more bold, it's so nice to hear people compliment them and recognize them because, when we go out in public with whether it's blue hair or a crazy, dress with kittens and tacos on it or something, or, we're putting ourselves out there. So for someone to give a kind compliment costs nothing. And it can really make people's day. And sometimes I've had great conversations after a compliment like that, where, we really kind of connected, or we just had a really fun, great conversation for 5 or 10 minutes. And it brightened my day. Hopefully it brightened their day. It just makes you feel kind of like you belong and that you're seen and feel a connection to people. I know
you don't know what that compliment will like, how much that will mean to that person. Like they could have had the worst day and you complimenting their shoes could have just like completely turned their, like, you just don't know how far your kindness goes. So
I've had days where I was feeling like really not myself and not on my A game, just not great. And someone came up and complimented me on something and it just was what I needed.
It meant the world. And that's funny because a lot of those moments come, like you said, if you see someone at a party and you notice them and you always go up to them because you know what it's like. I feel like our moments of like genuine humanity like that come out when we can like relate to an experience, like we've been there. So we want to help that person because we know what it's like, so I just think that it's a great thing, even if just a simple compliment. it will get you out of your comfort zone and make you talk to somebody you don't know and get that practice in to where a compliment will turn into a longer conversation. Because if you're someone like me who has social anxiety with people you really don't know, it takes a lot of practice for that 2-minute conversation to feel not like you want to like run for the hills, you know? So me complimenting shoes or complimenting hats or complimenting that like over time has caused my conversation to grow or even be initiated on my end. Like, for example, yesterday I went to Walt Disney Studios and then we were taking a tour, and the woman who was doing the tour, her name was Megan. And so on like a moment, I was like, oh, your name's Megan. How do you spell it? Because the thing in the Megan world is like, I'm sure other names.
Is there an H? Is there an
and so,
A-N?
Yeah.
E-N?
Megan, 6 months ago would have never walked up to her and been like, how do you spell your name? You know, just because like her, how do you spell it? Because the thought of that would have given me like so much anxiety, you know, but that started with me randomly. Cause we had this conversation about one of your daughters and then her, you know, wanting to make more friends and, you know, her complimenting someone and that turned into something more. And I was like, wow, it doesn't really take very much. But that's caused me to practice that, which has caused me to initiate conversation, small talk on my own, because I know a lot of people, you don't really need the pandemic to put you in that social anxiety category where you're just like, yeah, no, rather not. Like, I know I have 3 people and I'm good that I talk to. I don't need other people. But it's not for you. It's for them sometimes. And it's also,
and then you'll end up getting something out of it, which is really nice. I mean, I know like my grandmother, when she lived by herself for the last, 30 years of her life. And, there were times that when she stopped driving and she was really home most of the day, every day. And she lived on a larger piece of land. So she didn't like live in a cul-de-sac with neighbors who were, talking as they took their trash out every day or anything like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would call her and she would say, I haven't talked to a single person for 3 days or something. And I could just feel when she would say that interaction, that little interaction with the grocery store clerk or the mailman or, the volunteer work that she did where she would talk, it just was what she needed.
Yeah.
It recharged her batteries. It filled her cup. And I don't think any of us really realize that until it's missing from our lives. So
yeah, if we all think about it, like who are the people that aren't in your life that are like, for me, it's the people I see at the gym when I go, because I go every day, that it's almost like cheers, everybody. And if I were to go to another gym and not have that interaction now that I think about it, like that fills my cup, having those like adult moments with adults that aren't my kids, that aren't like my friends, that aren't like, there's no real responsibility there other than like, hi, good morning, how are you? Like that does fill my cup. And I had no idea that if you were to take that away, I would feel that. So
yeah, I know when my kids were all really small and I felt really isolated in the home with them all day, every day. I mean, taking 4 tiny people out or even 3 tiny people out to run errands was a nightmare and not enjoyable at all. And I certainly wasn't stopping to have small talk with people. I was rushing through everything. And I would usually wait, and my husband would come home from work and I'd go out to the grocery store, and because it cost me way less money than dragging 3 grabby toddlers with me, or, just saved me my brain cells. So I ended up joining one of those little mom groups that met like once a week, every other week. So just twice a month, but just sitting down, and none of those little conversations and they were weak tie friendships turned into closer friendship, but that was okay. I didn't need that at that time. What I needed was to have adult conversation that I could count on, and I could take, and they had someone watch the kids, and the kids all played together, and then we would sit and have tea and talk about parenting stuff. We'd have speakers come and talk, and then we'd discuss it afterwards. And it was just enough interaction for me to kind of keep my head above water and not start talking back to Sesame Street during the day just to speak to someone.
Yeah, we all need that.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes it is those little things. And I mean, it's hard not to get impatient when you're in line, like at the pharmacy behind, a very elderly person, and they are chatting away with the pharmacist aide about something they saw on television or something in the news, or asking, just telling them about their granddaughter and her dance recital or something. Sometimes I've been stuck behind those people when I'm in a rush, and it's very aggravating. And then I have to remind myself, like, what if this was your grandmother and this was her one interaction she was having for the day? And yeah, she's going to milk it for every second she can get because this is her conversation for the day. I try to, always be patient in those circumstances and know that one day that will be me, just like one day it will be all of us.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because we're all busy, but that's that one person's one outside interaction for the day.
Wow.
So
yeah. So small talk is essential no matter where you are in your life, whether you're a very busy person or you got not much going on, like small talk fills our cup.
Yeah, I was reading about this before this recording, and there are scientific studies that say that those small talk conversations that we have naturally throughout our week are really important as we get older and are a great indicator of people living a longer life. People who, as they become elderly, live alone and are isolated tend to have way more health issues and a shorter lifespan than people who are either in a community environment or have regular interaction with the outside world. So I think it's, obviously scientifically it's very important, but I can see it, even in myself, even if I'm out after COVID, when I first started going out again, and when the masks came off again, just the eye contact and the smile, sometimes that's all that you need, just to feel like acknowledged by another human in your day.
Yeah. You need to be seen. And for some people, they like for you, I'll take you as an example. When you have 4 kids and life is crazy. And like, if they're on the younger side, you just feel like a robot. Like you wake up to serve others and like, you don't feel like anyone even like, that if you left the world, everything would crumble, but you also at the same time feel like no one actually knows you're there kind of feeling.
Yeah, I felt like
to be seen by another person just really fills the cup, you know what I mean?
I felt like one of those mother possums with all the baby possums hanging off her back.
Yeah.
And I just like, if another,
like you're essential, but you're also invisible, right? Like it's not you. They don't see you, they see the kids.
Yeah. If another possum had looked me in the eyes and went, "What's up?" Like that would have been life changing for me at that moment. I needed to feel like I was seen.
Yeah,
and not just,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that sometimes just comes from the barista at your Starbucks complimenting your top, like that right? That could go such a long way. Cause you're like, little do you know that this was the one time this week that I actually put on a nice pair of pants, like they don't know the story behind that top, but man, did that go far, So you could make that, you just knowing that you have the power to change someone's attitude in a positive way, just by something that's free and so simple and quick. I mean, it should be something that we all do all the time, but we like usual, we're so busy and so in our own worlds that we don't even notice that we're being completely disconnected from people, unless it's the people that we prioritize and choose or have to pay attention to, we don't have the bandwidth for like,
I think if we start doing it with the mindset of benefiting others and making others' day by smiling at them and by, you see a mom struggling with a screaming baby and just like smiling at her or telling her how cute her baby is or that she's doing a great job.
Symbol in the air.
Yeah, like, whatever. Or if you're holding the door open for someone, just commenting on the weather, like, whatever. And your goal is to brighten someone else's day. You will be very surprised how much of an impact it has on you as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And it'll help you practice the things you need to so that you can have those 2-minute to 5-minute long, small talk conversations with all types of people, because those are like when I meet those people that are just so naturally good at talking to everyone, like those are the people that I aspire to want to be, because I just think that if you can just have this ability to walk into a room and connect with all types of people, even on a very loose tie, like very, but those are the kind of people that, you feel that energy in them and that it's like such a good energy. And it's not like, oh, I wish I could be like that. No, you could, you just start having conversations. The best people that are really good in the businesses that they're in are really good at talking to people because that's what they have to do all day long. So if you had to do it all day long, I heard a noise. Hold on.
I heard a bump too.
Kenzie, are you okay? What was that?
Nothing. It's the game.
Her little voice is so stinking cute.
Kenzie goes to school in an hour. I love kindergarten. It's like basically a 4-hour nap. Anyway, but yeah, no, I just feel like loose tie friendships, weak tie friendships, small talk, all these things, if you're busy, that's just going to fit best in your life. You have to remind yourself to practice it, to like carve out time in that busy day to like look up and be like, good, how are you? Rather than just be so involved. And this is the other thing. We're so in our phones all the time that it's almost like a safety blanket, especially for people with social anxiety, that if you walk into anywhere, even when your food's getting rung and you're checked, there's so many people on their phones that there's never that opportunity for connection.
Yeah, exactly. So that's hard to do when everyone's
phone out, because then it also pushes the other person away. They don't want to, like, heaven forbid you're at work or you're working on your phone. They don't want to annoy you with like, so this weather, right? Like they're not going to start the conversation. Yeah. So if you want more small talk, don't have your phone out, because that's a security blanket for people who don't want to talk. I do that when I'm like waiting for my coffee and there's people super close. And I'm like, this person might talk to me, So don't do that. That's something I just thought of that I'm like, that could.
I would also, one of the things that helped me the most when I was just kind of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable talking to people was if I was at like an event for, a charity or someone's house for a party or something like that, I would always ask them to give me a task, to give me a job, because I'm much more comfortable when I'm speaking to someone with some kind of purpose. Yeah. So if you want me to check people in or, walk around asking if people want to buy raffle tickets or, whatever it is, that will make me feel like I have a reason to approach people and talk to them. And it makes me feel more comfortable. So, I mean, if social anxiety in events like that is your thing, volunteer, ask to be given some kind of task.
Yeah.
What can I do to help is a great way to kind of find a way to fit in at an event like that.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciated our small talk today.
No, I learned a lot. I mean, this is great, because I just think that everyone can benefit from getting better at it. I don't know, unless you do this all day long for a profession where you're just talking to strangers all day, everyone could get a little better at it, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a really great idea to get comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable. That's where we grow as people. So yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Well, we would love to hear your tips on small talk and casual conversation like that. And especially if it's something that you struggled with and overcame, or if it's something that you're new to and you're finding things that are really helping you. If you want to go to our Facebook page, just search for She's a Full On Monet. And we have a discussion group on there where you can share your thoughts. And we always love to see you guys interacting with us. We appreciate it. And we look forward to talking to you guys next time.
Absolutely.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget to bookmark our site, she'safullonmonet.com, and subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're enjoying this podcast, it helps us a lot if you can follow, rate, and review. See y'all next week.